Your iliosacral spiral determines whether your creative force completes its cycle or remains suspended in intention. When this geometry is active, energy flows from the ground to the crown, the breath descends fully, and creation finds its roots. When it has been blocked for years, the intention exists, the will is present, and manifestation stops before becoming real. Today, you will understand what interrupted this sacred pattern and how to reactivate it with 3 movements. Living in the almost is a bodily pattern before it becomes a mental one. The beginning that loses momentum halfway, the decision that retreats at the moment of execution, the impulse that rises and stops. The body is signaling something about how the foundation organizes itself. The sacroiliac joint performs micro-movements in each cycle of inhalation and exhalation. The sacrum tilts forward while the iliac bones adjust in the opposite direction, creating a pulse that synchronizes breath, posture, and the circulation of cerebrospinal fluid. When intact, this movement integrates 3 axes simultaneously: anterior, posterior, lateral, and rotational. The result is the iliosacral spiral pattern. While this joint moves in a spiral, the mechanoreceptors of the sacroiliac capsule send stability signals to the nervous system. The breath descends with amplitude. The creative force finds ground to rise from. Trauma reorganizes this circuit. In response to overwhelm or abandonment, the nervous system replaces the spiral with linear containment. The sacroiliac ligaments shorten. The joint locks into defensive positions, and what was meant to pulse now only holds. The vital force, once free for creation and action, begins to be consumed by the maintenance of its own rigidity. This silent consumption explains the fatigue that arises without any real effort. In the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, the base of the body was the first portal of transmutation. The corpus hermeticum distills it. The spiral that organizes galaxies organizes the pelvic joint. With this portal blocked, the creative force remains held where it should circulate. This process has a depth beyond what I can show here. I have organized a somatic map with 22 cycles to take this path further. It is pinned in the first comment if you want to go deeper. The practice is organized into 3 progressive movements. Each one prepares the ground for the next. Together, they reintroduce the spiral pattern into the iliosacral joint. The first movement is the most subtle, and for that reason, the most powerful. Before any external movement, you will map the path of the spiral using the breath. Position: seated with the sacrum supported or lying on your back with knees bent and feet on the floor. Eyes closed. Inhale for 4 seconds, directing the air toward the pelvis. On the exhale, observe the sacrum gently pulling back. On the next inhale, add intention. The breath travels through the iliosacral joint in a spiral, along the anterior edge, rising along the right side, passing over the top of the sacrum, descending along the left side, returning to the starting point. Motor neuroplasticity confirms. Imagined activation of movement recruits the same neural pathways as actual execution. The tissue begins to remember. 5 cycles. Lightness is the criterion. The breath leads, the sacrum follows. With the mapping complete, the second movement physically moves the sacrum along the 3 axes that make up the spiral pattern. Standing, feet hip-width apart, knees slightly bent, hands resting on the iliac crests. The movement begins minimal, almost imperceptible. Tilt the sacrum forward, nutation, return to center. Continue backward, counter-nutation. 3 repetitions. Then add the lateral dimension. The sacrum slides to the right, returns, slides to the left. Finally, integrate the rotational dimension. The top of the sacrum rotates to the right while the base moves to the left, as if the bone were drawing an S in slow motion. When the 3 axes are linked in continuous sequence, the movement becomes spiral. The breath comes in as guide. Within a few cycles, the body takes over on its own. You follow rather than lead. 6 repetitions. The third movement seals the pattern through sound. The vibration travels the full axis, from the iliosacral joint to the cranium. Standing or seated, inhale deeply. On the exhale, emit the sound hum, long and steady, directing the resonance downward, as if the vibration were touching the sacrum from within. Keep your attention on the sensation in the pelvis and pelvic floor. After 3 repetitions, move to the sound AUM. Let the final M phase echo all the way to the cranium. The path is ascending. pelvis, lumbar, diaphragm, chest, cranium. This path activates the ventral vagus nerve through two simultaneous points: abdominal resonance and craniofacial resonance. The ventral vagus sustains the sense of relational safety and creative openness. With the sacrum still resonating the pattern from the previous movements, the nervous system registers. The spiral is active. Continue for 1 to 2 minutes. After the 3 movements, stop. Breathe deeply 3 times and feel the weight of your feet on the ground. Allow the breath to descend into the lower belly without forcing. Observe the movement happen. Remain standing for another 30 seconds, simply sensing what has changed. The foundation has returned to pulse. The breath descends where it once met resistance. The creative force begins to circulate. 3 signs indicate the spiral has been reactivated. The breath reaches the lower belly without conscious effort. Warmth or subtle vibration in the pelvis, a living pulse where there was silence. The vertical axis restores, spine lifted, posture aligned without forcing. Measurable, repeatable. To return to this state at any moment, hands on the iliac crests, 3 deep breath cycles, a low resonant sound on the final exhale. Then, internally, my spiral is alive. 30 to 60 seconds. The body retains what it has practiced. When called upon, the spiral returns. The reactivated spiral changes the cost of creation. Projects that once demanded constant effort begin to find ground without forcing. The breath that descended into the belly during the practice will descend more easily in each following session. The nervous system learns through repetition, and each time you return to the pattern, it consolidates with less resistance. What is being built here is somatic memory. The body retains what it learns, and when the spiral is reactivated with intention and technique, it returns to the active state more easily with each practice. Over time, this stops being an exercise and becomes the baseline. The difference begins to appear where you least expect it, in decisions that arrive with greater clarity, in creation that moves forward instead of circling, in energy that sustains the end of the day instead of dissipating at the beginning. What shifts is the relationship with effort. Creation begins to require less brute force and more attunement to what is already in motion. Creation begins in the body. It always has. Incarnation is the act of making the invisible visible. With the foundation blocked, intention circulates without ever touching the ground. Hildegard von Bingen wrote, "The soul is rooted in the body as sap is in a tree. Everything you create needs roots. And the roots are in the foundation." What you felt during the 3 movements was recognition. The body recognized that it was authorized to pulse again. The impulse that stopped before becoming action. The fatigue without real cause. The project's always in the almost. These were the cost of keeping the spiral still. When it moves, that cost ceases. Creation allows itself when the foundation is alive. The almost you knew so well was the spiral standing still. Now it moves. If this content touched something in you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to receive the next practices. I want to know what happened in your body during the 3 movements. Write in the comments. I reactivate the spiral of my iliosacral joint and release my creative force. This affirmation marks your presence on this path. Share it with someone you believe needs to learn about this. What awakened today wants to continue. Click on the icon appearing on your screen and watch another transformative video from the channel. Remember, while the spiral is blocked, you push. When it opens, you sustain. The difference between intention and manifestation has always been this. The spiral is vibrating again, and everything you create from this point forward begins exactly there.